welcoming you back to the desk of Caddicarus. Join us as we partake into a new installment of Current Quickies.
Hello my duckies, and this time we'll be having a look at Dark Souls 3. Q. This game is amazing. In terms of Souls game history, I've personally beaten Demon Souls. I started Dark Souls, but then I got too busy to finish it. And then Dark Souls 2, I tried on PS4. I got to the Flexile Sentry, and after that point, I was so fucking bored, I literally stopped playing. It bored me. I gave it about 10 hours, and it just bored me fucking senseless. I'm sorry. But then, after playing Bloodborne, I got reinvigorated in my interest for Souls-like gameplay. So when I heard Dark Souls 3 was coming out, I got it the day it came out, beat it in 49 hours, and then went straight to a script to write down all my thoughts to share with you today as a new Dark Souls fan. Now, I will just say, in order to get all my thoughts across, there will be major spoilers in this video, both visual and plot-wise. So, if you don't want anything spoiled, I'm sorry, this isn't the video to watch. So, what did I think of it? Well...
This game is bloody brilliant, man. After I watched hours worth of YouTube videos detailing the lore and stories of characters in the Dark Souls universe and loving every single bit of them, I felt more ready than ever not only to jump into more of the dreadful world of the Dark Souls story, but also ready for the epic gameplay I adored in Bloodborne but on a more methodical scale. Because what I can take out of the gameplay of Dark Souls 3 is that it's basically the perfect mix between Bloodborne's forceful, fast-paced and aggressive hands-on approach and the Dark Souls' slow, careful and patient approach. And the way that it executes and combines both of these styles of gameplay not only hugely impressed me, but also made it my favourite Souls gameplay style to date. This game is the very definition of using any playstyle to suit your needs and overcome the insane challenges that will be thrown at you. Not only with the character build you can start off with to customize at the beginning of the game, but the fact that you can take any approach you feel fits best. I've never been one to use magic in these kinds of games, but I decided to try it as a pyromancer because Bloodborne didn't implement magic that much at all, so I fancied a change. Only to then discover I favoured a much more hands-on reflex approach, and so I leveled into my strength, dexterity, vitality and endurance as the game went on. The game is not like Demon Souls, which basically requires mastery of slow progression and shield usage, yet not like Bloodborne, which basically requires mastery of fast reflexes and no cowering behind a shield. It seamlessly combines these styles not only with the enemy behaviours and fucking brilliant bosses, but also gives you opportunities constantly to switch up your style at any point, making it not only the deepest Souls gameplay experience with the endless possibilities of leveling up, equipment upgrading and RPG variables with magic offenses and defenses, but also the best feeling to date as well. The weight in this game and the way why stamina usage is not only more realistic but more rewarding because of that, and the way that attacking enemies and the way they react to particular swings with particular weapons and running, rolling and guarding all feels more real than ever before is a godsend. Especially after, in my opinion, the utter bland and flatness of Dark Souls 2 that never made you feel like you were deep in the fray and fighting for your breath with weapons that made you feel like you had an impact on the world around you, instead making you feel like you were just pressing a button in order to make other health bars deplete. This is a game, much like better From Software titles, about slowly travelling, absorbing every minuscule thing around you, being careful, learning from every death you suffer, and supreme memorization of enemy and boss attack patterns. And the feeling you get when you figure out exactly how a huge regular enemy ticks and use that to your advantage to kill them in seconds, and the feeling you get after constant death fighting a bastard of a boss and then you finally nail every single weakness, critical point and be patient with dodge timing and guarding when appropriate to only then completely destroy the fucker without taking that many hits at all is one of the most incredible feelings I've ever had from a video game, much like Bloodborne. But like I said earlier, with the more depth and variables with the more detailed RPG systems. I also got that feeling from solving the very subtle puzzles to secret areas. I managed to figure them all out by myself from pure attention to the world and how things in From Software games work, and I will admit my good friend Dave Klein actually told me how to access the Smouldering Lake in just a passing conversation. I honestly wouldn't have figured that out myself, but there you go, thanks man. And the bosses are fucking amazing. Some of the most memorable, difficult, threatening, intimidating and giant in scale in Souls history. And not only cater to all playstyles you decide to go with, but also act in a much more aggressive and difficult Bloodborne-y way, this time requiring that you aren't only quick on your feet and massively concentrating, but this time include the scope needed if you decide to go for a more environmental weakness, magic build, or a long-range attack strategy. It's amazing how it manages to do all of these things together, and of course the bosses are way more interesting, engaging, and less cheap with hitboxes and exploitable to kill than in Dark Souls 2. Another thing brought back from Souls 1 and Bloodborne and improved from Souls 2 is of course the level design and attention to detail in the presentation. Not to say Souls 2 looked bad, it looked amazing, but the way that the world came together, such as seeing a location you go to later in the game actually being in the most illogical and nonsensical place that looks nothing like the way you get there or the way the place looks generally from the distance, nah, that shit is gone. It's way more like Souls 1 and Bloodborne like that, and the attention to detail in the way that this is the most beautiful fucking From Software game ever, look at it! Literally blew me away, and of course the effort gone into the world building with every aspect of the presentation and design actually meaning something in the grand scheme of the lore, and the fact that there aren't many voice performances in the game and yet are all some of the best you will ever hear at all also blows me away. The passion and dedication shown through this for every tiny little thing in the game is something to behold and cherish. Oh, and thank God the level design is back on top form. Along with the immense difficulty to fully absorb you into this savage universe and make you pay attention to absolutely everything, the way the levels all have mini branches off any paths, the way bonfire checkpoints are placed to make you think risk and reward strategies in case you lose all your hard-earned souls on a dangerous trek to the next unknown checkpoint, the way that the horizontal and vertical planes of the stages are incorporated miraculously to hide secret items, secret areas, secret bosses, secret character quest lines, and secret everything, the way shortcuts are implemented as rewards, and the way areas loop back into other areas from the past via these elevators and shortcuts. It's not only fantastic level design from a general sense, but also helps further bring the world together and make it more cohesive. And yes, like I said, the game is still difficult. My god, it's difficult. Never unfair though. And even though many newcomers to Dark Souls I see complain about the respawning enemies enemies after every bonfire rest, deaths from ambushes and losing all their currency forever because they fucked up trying to get it back. I'm sorry, but these are all implemented to teach you how the game works and teach you subliminally that learning every in and out about the world and the enemies with the characters within that world is vital for progression and survival. Without the ambushes and soul losing, you won't ever learn to be careful and slow. Without enemy respawns after every rest at a bonfire to refill health and health items, you'll never learn the attacks and behaviors inside out enough, therefore will have a difficult time whenever you want to revisit to find a secret or apply an item you looked at the description for to figure out how it's implemented or used within the environment around you with subtle clues that require the utmost attention. And the exact same thing can be applied for bosses. Yes, it may appear unfair, but it seriously isn't. And not only does it teach you this game does not fuck around with you and you will not have a nice time very often, but it also provides you with an immense feeling of reward for overcoming challenges and connecting with an unexplored world through your utter 100% attention, involvement, and absorption every single minute of play. To top it all off, on PS4, the game runs magnificently, controls marvelously, and is one of the top games in terms of looks and performance on PS4 I've ever experienced. I'd say it even runs and looks better than Bloodborne. Now here is where I have to mention the one thing that really fucking aggravated me, the one thing that ruined my near perfect rating of this game, the one thing that took what was initially going to be a 10 out of 10 review and knocked it down a peg, the ending. Now if you're familiar with Dark Souls lore, you know all the main ideas about the first flame and where it came from and how other characters throughout the ages have linked it to keep it going instead of succumbing to the age of man and darkness. And this video is not going to cover the specifics, nowhere near enough time here. But let's just say that Dark Souls 2 more or less just did the exact same thing but with a lot less interesting ideas, and Dark Souls 3 begins with an entirely new kind of premise featuring a new cast of characters setting the story off. The Pilgrims, and a new kind of chosen one to play as, not just an undead but an ashen one. And even a new kind of plot retrieving these 5 Lords of Cinder back to their thrones, only to then find out they all don't want to come back and so you have to return their dead ashes back to the thrones instead. While this is all going on, of course, it's all in there somewhere, and again I won't go into any specifics in this video, but suffice to say that every single interesting plot thread with characters, fascinating insight with item descriptions and strange instances of character dialogue, and even more incredible discoveries like finding a completely hidden gravesite left to rot for years behind the treasure of an optional boss which just so happens to be practically identical to the Cemetery of Ash from the beginning of the game, and after fighting another optional boss, finding out that the Firelink Shrine you've been visiting might actually just be an illusion because of what you find in this twisted dark realm within the actual game world as opposed to the area you always have to travel to via bonfires and no access any other possible way. All of that incredible deep shit that could have been further explored, it all gets shat on as far as I'm concerned by the end of the game, where you go back to the kiln of the first flame, only to then fight a fucking amazing boss battle to be fair, but after beating him and then reading the soul item description on New Game Plus, only to then find out it was an incarnation of every soul that has linked the fire before it, and now that you killed it, you can then link the flame again, exactly like the end of Dark Souls 1, but with no emotional significance and no natural follow-up from the rest of the events you spend dozens of hours painstakingly traveling through. I'm unbelievably disappointed that the ending boss idea and the end game in general was not only recycled, but also lazy in both design and story significance when there was so much new stuff being done with the rest of the game. Do not get me wrong though, that's literally just a complaint from someone who is massively into From Software games by this point. Everything else here is a lot better than most AAA games you'll play, but for Souls, I found it massively unimpactful and a what the fuck ending despite the absolutely phenomenal battle you go against. But of course that doesn't take away from the phenomenal gameplay in general from the second you begin. That, as far as I'm concerned, along with all the fascinating stuff right up until the ending, is what makes this probably the best game I've played this year so far. And one that, despite the crushing difficulty and inaccessibility for the casual crowd, and the fact that I still prefer Bloodborne overall, I will recommend this to anyone and everyone along with Bloodborne until the day I die.
So, as a Soulsborne fan now, I can personally give this game a 9 out of 10. Do you know what? It is still fucking amazing. And I would still give it a 10 as a general game. Go and buy it now, it's fucking amazing. But, as a Soulsborne fan now, I just thought that everything that the narrative was leading up to, despite the epic gameplay, should have been a little bit more worth the effort. But that's just my opinion. Phew.